Okay. Um, so we are in week 11. Um, Today is the last session in this series. Thanks for joining. So in week 9 and week 10, we discussed about ETL pipelines. In week 9, we discussed about extracting the data from REST API, loading the data to Azure Blob Storage. In between, you are applying transformation to the data if needed. In week 10, we looked at transforming the data using an LLM. We kept an LLM in between the pipeline at the transform step and transform the data to enrich the results. Right. Today we look at basically the same ETL pipeline, but we use Prefect. Right. That's the idea of today's discussion. So you already know about Prefect. Um, a function or a method you can put at the rate task decorator, then that method basically executes a single task, right? And prefect tracks its execution. At the rate flow is basically to combine multiple tasks as a flow, right? Um, and there are these parameters. Let's say a task is failed, you want to retry it. Um, you can use this parameter to retry the failed task in the pipeline. And Prefect is very helpful with logging. You get the observability with all these logging functionalities available in the Prefect. So the logs appear in the Prefect dashboard, not just the terminal. If Prefect is not available in when your pipeline is in your local, you get the logs to the terminal. But now the logs will be appearing in the Prefect dashboard with Prefect included in the ETL pipeline, right? Um, so so what changes in the cloud context when Prefect is included, right? As I said, local pipelines will error out in the terminal. Cloud pipelines can fail in different other ways. They can fail because you don't have OpenAI balance, and they can fail because your blob storage limits are hit in your cloud data storage, and there may be network timeouts for APIs. Pipeline might have crashed in the middle. These are different reasons your ETL pipeline can fail in the cloud versus the local pipeline, right? So in order to track the failures, understand the failures, you really require observability and resiliency. Resiliency is where when something is down, you should be able to make it up as soon as possible in the pipeline step, right? So for these purposes, basically, Prefect is helpful, right? So here is an example Prefect flow for our ETL pipeline. Your whole ETL pipeline method is basically a flow, and the steps within the pipeline extract, transform, and load are the tasks, individual tasks. trans extract, it makes an API call and fetches the response. Transform sends each record to OpenAI LLM and then enrich the data. Load uploads the enriched results to Blob Storage. So three tasks within one flow. Each task is independently logged, retried if required, and observable. So how do you retry? So in the task, you will pass a parameter, retries equals to 3. So this task will be retried for 3 times if there is a failure. And retry delay, we are telling it as 10 seconds. So once there is a failure, it will wait for 10 seconds for the next retry. Um, yeah, so and in the transform step, in the previous lesson, we were making a call to LLM in order to classify it, classify the data, right, or enhance the data. So the same transform step also is wrapped in a task now. Right, each step in the ETL pipeline is a task now. And yeah, again, load is a task. Overwrite equals to true. We'll discuss about this in the upcoming slide. Here, basically, you are uploading data to your blob storage. That's part of load step, and the load step is also decorated with that a task, right? So you can basically see the prefect dashboard at this location once you run this command. And yeah, you can see the flow running in the prefect dashboard. Click into individual task runs and then read the logs to understand um, if there are failures or to understand if the tasks are successful, etc. Um, so again, sometimes network calls may fail for no reason. At those cases, the ideal way is to retry the API call again instead of breaking the ETL pipeline flow, right? So that's why we have to apply retry. Um, yeah, I think we discussed the rise for status also in the previous lesson. We basically send a clear message when there is a failure instead of uh, silently ignoring the failure, right? We are basically logging out the failure by using rise for status. And prefect really helps for logging. So you get the logger by calling get run underscore logger function. And then there are different log levels, info, warning, etc. You can log different varieties of errors based on the severity of the error as either info, warning, etc. Right? So overwrite equals to true. So what it'll do, uh, idempotent operation produces the same result no matter how many times you run the pipeline step, right? Um, you don't want the duplicate data to be written. Let's say you were doing a load step and let's say your pipeline is crashed and you are rerunning that particular step. It overwrites the blob data instead of creating a copy or a duplicate of the blob data. That's why we have to say overwrite equals to true. So without idiopotent potency, reruns create duplicate data. Yeah, so it's always preferred to use idiopotent writes. Okay. So this is to summarize. Retry is to retry a failed task. Raise for status is to, when there is an error, provide a understandable error message for logging purposes. Your print statements should be changed to logger statements so that you can see all the logs in your prefect dashboard. Override equals to true in order to avoid duplicate data storage. Right. So that's all for the today's lesson. I think you will have to do the practicum. Best of luck with the practicum. Yeah, let me stop sharing. So congratulations for all of you because you made it until the last session. I hope your assignments are going good. Um, yeah, do the last practicum as well. Probably you'll get a certificate, I guess. Um, and let's be in touch. I can share my LinkedIn in the announcement chart on this week's lesson, on this week's thread, actually.